Amen. You may be seated. In his opening words, the prophet Joel wrote, "Hear this, O elders, give ear, all the inhabitants of the land. Has such a thing happened in your days or in the days of your ancestors? Tell your children of it. Let your children tell their children, and their children another generation." We need each other, generation to generation, to carry forth the wisdom, to continue what has been good, to listen to what has been hard, to leave behind what has been harmful, to pass on the wisdom of days past, and to spread the prophecy of better times ahead. Today, we will hear some stories from our builder generation. We will hear from Mumford and Fran Issac and Chris Christ. At this time, I'd like to invite Al to come forward.
You're good. Yeah, thank you. I'm wired. Okay. Good morning. I don't exactly know why I'm here today. Well, I do, but I was kind of tricked. I received an email from Tom, said, "Would you like to come down to a meeting? We're going to talk about your generation, the good things, the bad things, and any recommendations that you had." Sure. So I arrived, and we had a conversation. Chris and Fran and I had a conversation about our generation. And then Emily Joy said, "Well, I've got to go, but you guys put together about 5 minutes for the service today." And I previously asked Tom, "Am I going to have to talk in front of the group? Because I'm uncomfortable doing this." He said, "Oh, no, just come down and share your ideas." So you guys owe me. You were there. Okay. I didn't know I was a builder generation, of the builder generation. My definition of builder, and for those of you people who know me, I'm not allowed to climb a ladder, use sharp objects, and most of all, can't fish alone. But let's define the builder, and it's also, I believe, called the silent generation. We were born between 1931 and 1945. That's me. We sacrifice our own needs for the good of others. We conform to rules and law and order, and are patient and delay our personal rewards. And we place duty before leisure, and we adhere to rules. I think that's me as well. That's why I'm here. I can't say no. I really like the t-shirts that say "Life is good." They kind of reflect the mood you're in by the t-shirt you wear. And I have 2 or 3. One says "Life is good" with a rowboat on it. "Life is good" with a guy playing a guitar. And "Life is good" with a camper on it. My wife threatens to buy me a t-shirt saying I lie a lot, and I don't know why. So my generation, I was born in 1936, during the Depression years. Of course, those years didn't mean much to me. I'm the youngest of 4 children, and really am an only child because my sisters were married and out of the house by the time I was age 10, and my sisters have often told me that I was spoiled. And I didn't see that in the definition of a builder, so I think we're in good shape there. My mother was one of 11 children. She was born in 1898. And the unique thing about the Greens of Forsyth County, Georgia, all 11 children attended college. My mom was number 3 in the birth order, so all of them through there attended college. Mom went to Georgia State Normal School in Milledgeville, Georgia, which is now, I believe, Georgia State College for Women, still in Milledgeville. We visited a week or so, or a couple years ago. She completed a 6-week course, which was very common in those days, as a home economist. And she traveled through Georgia and South Carolina teaching people food safety. I remember saying, oh, the Model A, and we built refrigerators out of cotton batting and ice. That's far cry from what we have today. She married my father, who was an automobile mechanic, born in 1896. And they were married in South Carolina and then kind of started a vagabond life all throughout the lower United States. South Carolina, Georgia, Arkansas, Oklahoma, Illinois, and finally migrated to Battle Creek, where I was born. I graduated from Lakeview High School in 1954, and all of my friends went to college, and I didn't. After all, who would want to go to college when you were making $100 a week driving a Coke truck? Now, that's Coca-Cola, folks. It's not the Coke that we think of today, okay? And $100 a week was unheard of for a 17-year-old kid to make. And in the fall, there's a phenomenon about people stopped drinking Coca-Cola, and my wages went down, my friends were away, and I enlisted in the Air Force. Some life-changing experiences for me there. I knew what it means to be on time. I knew the meaning of consequences, and I knew the meaning of respect for people in authority. After my fun in the Air Force, I married Susan. She had just graduated from Central Michigan University and was starting her career in teaching. I went to Western Michigan University and KCC and Western Michigan University, and we made ends meet by Susan's wages, the GI Bill, and working part-time. I think that's typical of us who were born during the Depression. I don't know exactly how I started doing things for and helping other people. It's just something I did. I have a very good friend and colleague by the name of Jackie Pieper. Many of you know her. She was a very devout people in investing in people and doing good things. And she told me once, Al, you need to invest your interest in the Bank of Humanity. That will be returned to you tenfold. I did that, and I'm getting lots of rewards for it. We tried to do that with our children, too, and I think they're doing that in their own way. We're talking about the wars and impact on us, and I don't remember really a lot about World War II. I was just, very young, 7, 8 years old. I don't remember that. I do remember the Gold Star banners, that hung in the windows, and that meant there had been a tragedy and someone lost their life. Korea and Vietnam and the stuff in the Middle East, I knew about and had some. I've been lost here, I think. Had some opinions, but again, my generational thing wouldn't allow me to do it. I would just say, "Oh, they're the bosses; they'll do it." Okay, so but we did have a dog in the race in Vietnam. That was my nephew, and that caused us for some concern and prayers. He did come home safely. Now, several years later, the Al Mumford, been married 55 years, 4 children, 13 grandchildren, and still working. When I retired from being a speech pathologist, I started working in hospitals, rehab hospitals, nursing homes, home health, and I liked it. And I thought I was really good, but the thing that made me good was my gray hair. Because I only worked with the elderly, they thought anyone with hair gray like mine, they must know something. Well, I can tell you, the young speech pathologists that are graduating now have 100 times more interest than I do. So if you look at a builder, I'm probably right in the middle of that, a builder or the silent generation. I fit. I don't challenge authority very often. I know about rules. I believe in making rules. I believe in the authority part. So I think I fit, and that's me. And as I said when I started this talk, life is good. Thank you.
time, I'd like to invite, now, Fran, I have words from you that I'm prepared to read for you, but would you come up and stand with me? Fran has asked that I give a little bit of assistance with the speaking part of this, but I hope she'll give me some assistance with the presence part of this. Is that okay? Okay. So these are the words of Fran Issac. My spiritual journey included regular attendance at Sunday worship, membership, and president of Mary Daniels Circle and Women's Fellowship, and the Town Hall Board, as well as involvement in the wider church. Our local church had always been very active in the Southwest Association and Conference, and I served on many committees and conference board of directors, the UCC Women's Board, and on ecumenical committees with the Disciples of Christ. I attended 2 general synods. One was one of the Michigan honored women at one. There were opportunities to hear a number of outstanding preachers, both UCC and others. Some were brought to Battle Creek. Others were in their home churches. There were also many UCC women's and UCC and disciple women's events. 2 special ones were a UCC wider area retreat led by Reverend Walter Brueggemann and the Mix in 06 women's event, which brought together the UCC National Women's Meeting and the Disciple Women's Quadrennial Assembly. Internationally, I have visited the village of, you're going to have to help me with this, Oberammergau. Oberammergau. Got it? I don't. Okay. In Bavaria. And attended a performance of the Passion Play there. Did you go there just for the Passion Play?
No.
Oh, okay.
It was a wider trip, but that was included.
She says it was a wider trip, but that was included. There was part of the, okay. Thank you.
I've been in that town more than once.
But you've been to that town again and again. Okay. Simultaneously, there were national and international happenings which affected all of our lives. The Great Depression of the 30s, when my parents lost all the investments which were to pay for college for my 2 siblings and me. They still managed to send us and did not allow us to apply for scholarships. Men would go door to door begging for food. My mother would assign them a job, feed them, and send them on their way. She was not afraid of being attacked or robbed. December 7th, 1941. The friend with whom I spent the day was in the Air Force Reserves. He was killed early in the war. There are many other issues. I appreciate our local church's recognition and involvement. And your local church appreciates you, Fran Issac. Thank you. And I'd like to invite Chris to come forward to share his reflections. Are you wired?
I'm wired.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Hear you.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm very happy to be here today to participate in the talks about generations. Many of us are in the builder generation. By the way, I believe my cell phone is off, but we'll see. My wife wrote the following introduction for my presentation and wanted me to pass it along. I learned yesterday that at my age and condition, I can't build anything anymore, especially with cement blocks and things like that, which I did when I was younger. I tried yesterday without much success. This is the evidence. as with most of us, I was born at a very young age. My parents were immigrants from Greece, and my father tried 3 times before he got into the U.S. First as a stowaway, second because he was too young, and finally he had relatives here who helped him get in. My father had a friend in Battle Creek from Greece who was interested in having the friend's niece come to the U.S. for an education. She was 17 years old. Her uncle arranged for her to go to Canada to meet my father, who was 37 years old and was then a U.S. citizen. They were married a week later. If you were married to a U.S. citizen, you could come to the U.S. freely by virtue of that citizenship. Immigrants came to Battle Creek where there were many other immigrants. Immigrants came believing they could get jobs and keep their beliefs and wanted to flee the Turkish Empire. My mother was 1.5 years old when her mother was killed by the Turks. My dad did get jobs soon after he arrived in Battle Creek. He worked on the railroad, and he worked at the Kellogg Company before becoming a partner in the Battle Creek Bread Company, where he was the production manager and helped to provide jobs for immigrants from the Balkans. People were developing their lives successfully. It was a time during the end of World War I when it was critical to develop the community. My mother spent a lot of time with the immigrant families trying to help each other. My mother spoke 4 languages, but none was English. I didn't speak much English until I started school. Θέλω να πω ευχαριστώ που ήρθατε εδώ. Ευχαριστώ το Μάση. Ευχαριστώ το άλλο το Masi and to Emilia for helping us learn about generation to generation. My brother and I also worked at the bread company as kids. I was a bread wrapper, cookie wrapper, made glazed donuts, and worked in the retail store. We were only allowed to sell so many donuts per customer because of the sugar rationing. My brother Pete was a great cake decorator, and also we couldn't jump in the car and go on trips like we can today because of gas rationing. So we continued working. We didn't have a lot of money in those days, but my mother spent a lot of time helping people. If they came to the door hungry, she fed them. My parents also had people stay with them until they could find jobs and a place to live. Education was very important to my mother. My sister, brother, nor I ever knew there was another option but to get an education, and that had to be a college education. My mother always told us, remember, you are not Greeks living in America. You are Americans with a Greek heritage. You should be proud of that. There were wonderful opportunities living in America, and in our community we had a mixed racial sense where we lived. We learned a great deal about how to live together and a meaningful way to help others. This gave me a great perspective that was very helpful in my career as a lawyer. Betty tells me that the educational opportunities weren't quite the same for females. Most of the females either became a secretary, a teacher, a nurse, or a stay-at-home mom. When I finished 9th grade, I learned about military schools from Boy's Life magazine. I was very impressed and wanted to attend one. I chose Culver Military Academy in Indiana. My parents were very supportive, and I went to Culver by myself, alone on a train, when I was 14, in order to finish my high school education. It was a great experience, and I met many different people. And one of my good friends was George Steinbrenner, former owner of the New York Yankees. I was fortunate enough to have served on the W.K. Kellogg Foundation Board for 19 years, for which I am very grateful. The essence of this experience was to learn to help others throughout South America, Mexico, and South Africa. We learned the importance of helping people to help themselves. The Pearl Harbor bombing had an impact on the way people reacted. What are we going to do about it? I continued in ROTC through law school. I wanted to be a pilot, but was unable to pass the eye exam. When I was young, we had BB gun fights, and I was shot in the eye, and that was the end of the BB gun fights. It was also the end of my dream to be a pilot. From a religious perspective, the immigrants who came to Battle Creek were mostly Eastern Orthodox. There was a local church where they attended every Sunday, and because we were a mixed community, I also had the good fortune of attending church with my friends, Presbyterians, Jehovah's Witnesses, Central Christian Church, Clare Street Bible Church, and ultimately, for 50 years, the First Congregational Church. Those were opportunities to see growth in how people could help one another and take on responsibility without being patted on the back. I learned a little song at the Clare Street Bible Church, which has stayed with me throughout the years. 1, 2, 3, the devil's after me. 4, 5, 6, he's always throwing bricks. 7, 8, 9, he misses every time. Hallelujah, hallelujah, I'm free. Before I conclude, I wish to mention my relationship with God. When I was 2 years old, my mother was in my bedroom and she was talking. I asked her who she was talking to, and she said, God. And I've been talking to God every day since. Now, I know you believe you understand what you think I said, but I'm not sure what you heard is what I meant. Thank you.
Hey, thank you. Thank you. You heard what I said, but I'm not sure you understood what I meant. That is a preacher's dilemma. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Fran. Thank you, Al, for sharing your stories today. Your wisdom in the particularity of your generation, it matters today. It matters to me as one coming from a different generation. It matters to me to hear it. As I listen to all of you talk about how education has shaped your lives, I'm reminded of the importance of educational equity today. In a time when too many kids are slipping through the cracks of their schools, your wisdom matters today. So I listen to all of you talk about how important it is for you to do good work and good employment and have a good job. I'm reminded of the imperative that society has, that all of us have, to make sure that good jobs are available here, not being sent overseas, not 39 hours with no benefits or multiple minimum wage jobs just to get ends met. Your wisdom matters today. And as I listen to you talk about the importance of doing your duty for the sake of the common good, for the bigger picture that impacts all of us and not just us individually, I'm reminded that my own generation tends to lose hope when things get hard, that there are times that the best thing to do is buckle down, dig in, and keep going with faith that things will work out in the long run. Your wisdom matters today. The prophet Joel wrote, "Tell your children, let your children tell their children, and their children another generation. We need each other, generation to generation, to carry forth the wisdom, to continue what has been good, to listen to what has been hard, to leave behind what has been harmful, to pass on the wisdom of days past, to spread the prophecy of the days to come. Let us give thanks to God today for the gift of dialogue from generation to generation. Amen.